licensing requirements you have, the more unemployment you have, and the less people there are in the labor force. So there's evidence to suggest that if you reduce these licensing burdens, you'll actually, decrease the unemployment rate some more, and you'll get more people that are engaged in the labor force. So I think that's something that we all like.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, folks, you guys are good. We're going to take a quick break. So Jacob and Dr. Tom, you guys are okay for a second, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to finish up this half hour here in just a minute. We'll be right back with Jacob Bundrick and Dr. Tom Snyder from the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics. Don't go anywhere. Back in a minute.
The Paul Harrell Program.
If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
Welcome to the Arkansas Obamacare Hotline. We would be more than happy to help you enroll in Arkansas Obamacare today. We just need a little information about you. Let's get started. If you're disabled, pregnant, or looking for medical care for your child, the program is currently full, and there's no doctors to see you. Please hang up now. If you're an able-bodied adult, please press 1. If you're currently employed, we're sorry, but you most likely do not qualify for the program. Please quit your job and call back later. If you don't work and instead play video games all day with your cats in your grandmother's basement, please press 1. If you've never lived in Arkansas, press 1. If you currently live in another state, press 1. If you recently purchased a home in New Jersey for $750,000, please press 1. If your current identity has previously been used by another person, was created before your actual date of birth, or doesn't really exist, please press 1. Congratulations! It sounds like you're the perfect candidate to receive Arkansas Obamacare. Please stay on the line, and a hardworking DHS employee will be with you as soon as possible. While you're waiting, feel free to relax as your ambitions to gainful employment fade away. PHP Parody. You're listening to the intersection of conservative ideas and reality, the Paul Harrell Program.
All right, welcome back. And joining us to talk further about those conservative ideas, we have the good folks from the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics, Mr. Jacob Bundrick and Dr. Tom Snyder. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Feel free, any of you decide to dive in here. We've been talking about this paper on occupational licensing, and we have demonstrated in the last segment how Arkansas is so oppressive. I mean, this is the definition of soft tyranny, in my opinion, with these obstacles to work and the protectionism that's going on. It's a really good paper, again, of the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics. Let's talk about the consequences of occupational licensing. Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, one thing we don't think about, but when the economy suffers overall, like I said a while back, say you lose your real estate job. Well, in Arkansas, you can't easily become, say, an optician or a massage therapist or a door repair contractor because of the licensing requirements. And if you look at the labor force participation rate, here it's about 58%. Missouri is about 65%, and they have lower licensing requirements. So maybe there's something there. We mentioned the crime as well, right? If you can't find a job easily, you're more likely to resort to crime.
Gosh. So you can't easily become an optician, a massage therapist, or door repair contractor in Arkansas. You guys have a lot of the, in these in the paper here, or in these comparisons. There's just a lot of jobs that you wouldn't think about. I remember back a couple of years ago in the Arkansas General Assembly, they were just trying to roll back on the cosmetology board a simple requirement that required people who braided hair to go through cosmetology school, and the cosmetology schools around them didn't even offer hair braiding. And this is an establishment that's all they did was they braided hair. That's it. And they took money for it, and they were wanting them to go and get 1,500 hours of education. And it was like the end of the world, and they did succeed, I believe, in allowing hair braiders to braid hair. But it was such a difficult thing, and it almost didn't even pass. And this was a couple of years ago. Why do you think it is so difficult to roll some of these occupational licensing rules and regs back?
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, they have special interests, right? So the cosmetology schools, they want to stay in business. They want to make sure that there's licensing requirements, right? Or the massage therapy schools, right? They want to make sure that there's high burdens, so you have to go to that school and get your degree from that school, right? And the current folks that are in those occupations, well, of course, they don't want competition, right? So they like more burdens as well. And sometimes you see these grandfather clauses as well. So if you're in that profession and a new license requirement comes out, you're exempt. You don't have to do that. So that sounds good. Of course, you're not in that profession. It sounds good for you, but it hurts all those consumers and those would-be entrepreneurs that can't get into the business in the future, right? They don't have a voice in that situation.
Yeah, at some point, I've compared this to just kind of, you've just got to grease the right palms. If you want to work, you've got to pay tribute to the right people. I mean, that seems to be what this is here. And if anybody else tried to do this, it would be illegal. But it's tied within the government, and so it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult too for, say, a future entrepreneur. You don't know, say, in a few years you're going to be a cosmetologist, right? You're not thinking about going, and trying to pass some legislation, right? Those in the business, they're much more organized, and they're going to be the ones actually pushing for this, right? Consumers, you buy a lot of products, you consume a lot of services, right? You're not going to get all riled up for one individual issue, right? But if that's actually your occupation, then you will. So it's tough for a politician, right, to maybe do, maybe what's in the best interest for everyone when they have the special interest, right behind them, trying to push a certain regulation.
I want to back up.
The special interest just has so much more to gain from these protectionist regulations, whereas each individual consumer, if there weren't, fewer regulations, they'd pay just a few dollars less here and there for the goods and services that they consume. So, the average person doesn't have enough time in the day or can't afford to take off from work to go down to Little Rock and fight these regulations. But some individual whose business it is something that's protected by these regulations, they have a lot riding on this. So they have a much greater incentive to go down and keep these protectionist regulations going.
Well, and the people are paying the price for it. I mean, I want to back up here, and I have some statistics in front of me. You look at the labor force participation rates, and you look at Arkansas's in 2016, 58.1% versus Missouri's 65.4%. And then you look at Missouri's lower licensing regulations compared to Arkansas's. Are you guys saying there's a direct correlation there?
Well, actually, I have a paper that hopefully comes out in the next year or so, but I've actually looked at the data, and there is a correlation between occupational licensing requirements and labor force participation rates. So we actually do find the more requirements or more burdens you put on folks trying to get a license, the more likely they're not going to enter the labor force. So you see higher burdens associated with lower labor force participation rates.
I want to talk here in a second about what we can do about this, because I know you guys have some ideas. But first, let's talk about the system as it is, if you don't mind. Okay, each one of these protectionists, and these are just my words, they're protected by a board, right? most of the time, as far as there's the way I know. And this board is made up of the professionals of that whatever industry we're talking about here. Is that correct?
That is very common. Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, I mean that there's a conflict of interest there, right? If you're on the board and you know, you have a chance to approve someone or not approve someone to get a license. Well, if you approve them, then they're going to compete with you, right? So you're more likely to say, well, no, you know, you're not, you don't pass this exam, or make the exam very hard, or make the requirements very hard.
Yes.
So if you're on that board, you have a conflict of interest.
Yeah, and they're going to say, you know, they're going to scream, you know, well, no, it's public safety and everything else. And the sad truth is we've got some professionals who don't really see what they're doing, or they don't really care about voluntary cooperation and more freedom and more liberty. They don't think it's a big deal. But is there anything we can do to the solutions? We're running out of time here. Is there anything we can do with these boards as is to say, look, if this regulation can be found and proven to not be about the public's safety, then we need to do away with it?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things we can do. I mean, simply, you mentioned the hair braiding thing. We can easily just exempt folks from certain licensing requirements that are not, something that's going to cause a big harm. And you can have what's called sunrise or sunset review. Sunrise means do a cost-benefit analysis before you ever implement a license. So maybe we could stop the bleeding for one thing. For a sunset review, we could look at cost-benefits of the current regulations and get rid of those that don't meet the requirements. We can look at other states. If another state doesn't license something and they're doing just fine, then why do we need that license requirement?
That's a good point. It's a really good point.
And in Mississippi, they give the governor veto power over the regulations. Maybe we could look into something like that.
Hey, that'd be neat. Unfortunately, our current governor would never veto any regulation. That's my opinion. Hey, I appreciate it. Dr. Tom Snyder, scholar with the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics, and Jacob Bundrick, a policy analyst there as well. Hey, thank you guys so much. It's been a great half hour, and I can't wait to get a smaller portion of this video out to everybody so they know how burdensome our regulations are in Arkansas.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, guys. Be safe. Folks, we will have Jan Morgan on the program next.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Liberal ideas, and I didn't know if you had a response to that.
Well, I mean, I would say I had been made aware of that earlier today. A very smart guy had called and told me about it, and I got to looking into it and discovered that it's true. And, you know, I mean, here's my response is this, and it's sad that this is my first response, but it's like, you know, why should this come as a surprise? This, you know, we don't have enough people in positions who are actually genuine about wanting to shrink government, that want to actually bring real tax relief on all citizens. I want all of our taxpayers to experience some tax relief, and it's not that hard. You just, you know, you've got to be willing. But I know exactly what you're saying, what they're wanting to do. And we're probably going to come out of this. I'm going to say it right now. I'll go on the record and say it right now. What the recommendation, whether it comes from this highly paid consultant or it comes from the governor's office or wherever it comes from, the recommendation is going to wind up bringing in an increase in taxes and not a decrease. Now, we will decrease the burden on some, but, you know, it's like, hey, if you decrease the amount I have to pay in income taxes, but you increase the amount I have to pay in sales tax when I go fill up my vehicle or whatever or any other kind, is it really a cut? No, I'm still paying more money to the government.
So you think that they're going to basically try to protect the government's not going to wind up getting less money out of this deal for sure. You think they're actually going to wind up getting more money, and what? I mean, but it's not going to be a true tax cut. They're not going to quit spending and then give that money back to the people.
Absolutely not. Here's the situation that the state of Arkansas is in. We cannot afford any more tax cuts. With what we're spending right now, we cannot afford another tax cut. I mean, when you're running a $5 billion machine down there, and you want to jump up and down and sing hallelujah and all this stuff, and click your heels in the air, and just celebrate the fact that we finished up a fiscal year with $15 million in surplus. Wow. I mean, that's ridiculous. And that was after we had to cut the budget.
Yeah, after he had to cut.
Because we weren't meeting, right, after we weren't meeting projections and all this kind of stuff. So, the sad reality is there's no way we can afford a real tax cut. We can't afford less revenue until we start cutting some of our expenditures. I mean, if you're spending $100 a week on something, you need to be generating $100 a week.
Well, Josh, why don't they want to cut spending, or why? I guess in their minds, the establishment leadership, it's like it's not even possible to cut spending. Why do you think that is? What are some of the reasons?
I wish I knew. Other than I go back to, of course, with the big elephant in the room. Is always, and until it goes away, which I don't know if it will or not, but is.
He puts the Paul in politics. The Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. Welcome back to the program. We have on the phone Jan Morgan, who recently announced that she's going to be forming an exploratory committee to potentially run for governor of the state of Arkansas. Jan, welcome back.
Oh, great to be back with you, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So glad that you could be here. Big news yesterday that came out. I mean, there were several stories about it, several articles about it. I know you posted about it on your Facebook page, and there's just a ton of people that are encouraging you. Just kind of walk us through what brought you to this decision where now you're thinking of potentially running for the governor?
Well, first of all, let me just respond to yesterday's announcement that we were establishing an exploratory committee. Paul, it has been overwhelming. I had no idea that it would generate the kind of response that we've received from every corner of the state and even across the nation. Of course, what I'm focused on is the kind of response we're getting from the state, because what matters the most is that people in the state let me know that Jan Morgan is who they want to bring about the change that is needed in our government. Those are the people who are going to be voting, and those are the people who I need to hear from. So I just want to ask people who have messaged me. There are thousands of messages in my message center, and our team is working as quickly as possible to answer those and to return phone calls. I'm just asking for people to be patient, because none of us were expecting the kind of overwhelming response. I mean, just to one post on my page, it was like 5,000 responses. Another page was like 3,000 or 4,000,
yeah.
and then it's been spread on other pages. So we're excited about that, and we're encouraged with that. But we've got to keep that momentum going, and we've got to sift through that and see how much is Arkansas and what are people saying. So. Anyway, a great day yesterday, and we're moving forward and just asking for people's patience in our response to them.
That's a lot of responses, and the only thing that's really happened is you said, "Hey, I'm thinking about it officially. I'm thinking about doing it," and there's just a lot of positive responses out there. So Jan, tell us though, why? I mean, what has led you to even consider this? I mean, is it the state of Arkansas politics right now?
Yes, it is, Paul. But, I have been out on the national stage fighting on a number of different fronts. As you know, I was an investigative journalist for over a decade, exposing corruption in government, has won a number of press awards on investigative journalism. And then I've been out there as an activist, a citizen activist fighting for the rights of the citizens, not only gun rights, but just, constitutional rights, and trying to educate people about the most important issues that are happening in our nation that affect all of us. But I received a phone call last year by Senator Linda Collins-Smith, one of our greatest conservative legislators in Arkansas, and she called me in panic mode. She said, Jan, I need your help. I need you to come to the state capitol. I am in the middle of a serious gun rights issue, and I'm having problems with Republicans. So I was shocked to discover and didn't believe her. I could not believe that we would have Republicans voting against the rights of citizens and voting rather to restrict the gun rights of citizens in this state. So I did join her at the state capitol, and once I saw what was going on, and then once she connected me with the senators and reps that were the problem, and once I confronted them about why they were voting and acting like Democrats, and they kept referring me back to the governor. They kept blaming it on the governor, and then I confronted the governor. And I had a lengthy discussion with him and did not get the resolution that I wanted from his office. He basically threw it back on the legislators. So the bottom line is we are in a crisis mode, Paul, in this state. Some of our greatest conservative legislators have been butting their heads against the wall because of the establishment. The establishment Republicans who are cowering under the pressure of the governor to vote against the will of their constituency. They're voting the governor's agenda rather than the will of the people who elected them. That is problematic. It's the same thing that we have happening in D.C. It's just happening in our state. And so that is what pulled me in. And as you know, and probably, it's pushing over close to 1 million views now, when I went nuclear in House Judiciary on establishment Republicans, I absolutely just went all over them. That video went viral. It was shot by Arkansas Times, and that kind of put me on the stage on the state level with citizens who may not have been aware of what I had been doing on the national level all along. And so that's when I started getting all these messages from citizens across the state saying they were just sick and tired and fed up with business as usual. They thought that electing President Trump in the state of Arkansas, that Arkansas going for Trump would send a message to the establishment Republican Party in the state. Apparently, the establishment did not get the message. It was business as usual. So now here we have Judge Roy Moore was elected, and that should have sent a strong message to the establishment on a national level and should have been a resounding message to the establishment on the state level in Arkansas, too, that people are enraged. We are fed up with business as usual. We are tired of being promised one thing. We are being tired of electing people who represent themselves as conservatives and then get elected and start voting and acting like liberals. So we've got some issues here in the Republican Party that we have got to deal with, and that is where I am. So,
yeah.
So because of the response of thousands of Republicans from all over the state, I decided to say, okay, we'll explore the possibility here and see what kind of response we get. So, and that's where we are today.
Well, and I understand you're going to be there's an event on Saturday, isn't that right?
Yes.
Where you're going to be speaking over in the western part of the state.
Yes, in Alma, Patriots at 746 Group, which is the strongest pro-gun rights organization in the state of Arkansas. And by the way, that organization is growing by the day.
Yes.
And I expect, if not already, that it's going to have more lobbying power against the anti-gun people in our state legislature than the NRA. That's where it needs to be. We really need for state-run gun rights organizations in every state to really take control of the gun rights issues in their state. Because as we've seen, even on the national level, the NRA was very disappointing just this past week on the gun rights debate. I won't get into that any further. But just to let you know, that's going to be a big event October 15th in Alma from 2 to 4 p.m. I'm going to be there. They're speaking to the folks. And then really that's sort of a kickoff launch, Paul, to a listening tour that I intend to do and had already planned to do, irrespective of the whole governor thing. I am in it for the people now. I am committed to the people of this state to fight for the people. They saw that when I was in House Judiciary, and I'm going to do that regardless of whether this exploratory committee develops and turns into a, yes, Jan Morgan needs to run for governor thing. Regardless, if that doesn't move forward, I'm still committed to the citizens of this state. I'm going to be fighting for them, not only on the gun rights front, but on a number of fronts, which is why I'm going to do this listening tour.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on events in every single county around the state so I can hear from the people and talk with the people and get to know better the primary concerns that the people of this state have that are not getting addressed.
And I want to correct something here. I said Saturday. It's actually the 15th is on a Sunday.
It's Sunday.
Yeah, just want to make sure we get that
Sunday
right.
afternoon.
Sunday in Alma.
Sunday afternoon, 2 to 4 p.m. in Alma, Arkansas.
We're talking
at Warren's Rec Room.
Warren's
Very
Rec Room.
casual, by the way. Very casual. You know, the thing about Jan Morgan is we're not doing $100 plate fundraising things here. This is for the people. And
right.
this whole, what I'm doing is about the people. And so we want to make sure that no one is excluded because they can't afford to come. And that's why I think there's a $5 cover charge just to make sure that the place that we're using is going to be covered on their expenses. So, yeah, it's very casual. Come as you are.
We're talking with Jan Morgan, who's now a potential Republican candidate for governor, announcing this exploratory committee, this listening tour. Now, you mentioned the same problems we're having in Arkansas are some of the same problems we're having in Washington, D.C. I want to play a little excerpt here. Sean Hannity recently interviewed Steve Bannon. Of course, Steve Bannon, big supporter of Roy Moore and, upsetting the establishment. And I just want to play a little bit of what Steve Bannon had to say on this Sean Hannity interview a couple days ago.
Got hostile Republicans that are apparently willing to go on a suicide mission if they don't get anything accomplished. They don't get the budget done. They can't repeal and replace. They don't even want to fund the border wall. If they don't do those things, they're going to suffer in 2018. President Trump's not up till 2020.
They have to understand. There's a basic agenda that President Trump ran on and won. He carried states that Republicans haven't carried in living memory. Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. This agenda works. The American people voted for it. It's their responsibility. By the way, McConnell would not be majority leader unless Trump in North Carolina, in Missouri, in Wisconsin was able to carry those senators across the finish line. It is incumbent upon them to back President Trump's plan, but you don't see it. What you saw what Corker said today is what they talk about on Capitol Hill. That's when I left the White House. Remember, I said, I'm going after the Republican establishment, and we're going to go after them. We're going to challenge. There's a coalition coming together. There's a coalition coming together that's going to challenge every Republican incumbent except for Ted Cruz, whether it's Utah, Wyoming, whether it's in
Orrin
Nevada,
Hatch in Utah.
Orrin Hatch in Utah. Today, Boyd Matheson, who is the chief of staff for Mike Lee, came out and said that he's going to set up an exploratory committee.
North Dakota.
In North Dakota, we don't have it. That's Hobbs County. But we're going. By the way, we're going in Mississippi against Wicker.
Who you pick? McDaniel.
McDaniel, Mississippi. These names are all going to come out over the next couple of weeks. There's going to be about 15.
So it's not going to be. I know a lot of people didn't like in 2010, for example, Delaware. Well, I thought Christine O'Donnell was a nice woman. But you're picking rock-solid credentialed candidates.
We're spending a ton of time with the grassroots organizations to make sure that these candidates are fully vetted. You're going to see people announced this week that are going to have experience in government. You're going to see some outsiders that are authentic, and these people are real. It's not like 2010. 2010 was the beginning of the Tea Party when things were first getting going. You're going to see real candidates, and by the way, they're going to take on incumbents in every state, and they're going to take on the Democrats after that.
You said in the 60 Minutes interview you're a street fighter.
All right, now
I'm a
stop
street
right
fighter.
there. Now, he goes on. He talks about the grassroots Americans across the country stepping into state races. There's more to the interview and everything else. I mean, Jan, is it possible that if you do decide to run, Steve Bannon maybe running around Arkansas at some point?
I don't know. That would be nice. I was the Great American Alliance when Dr. Sebastian Gorka and Sarah Palin were brought in by Steve Bannon's PAC. I was asked to come and speak at that same event, and I did speak at that event in Alabama to help Judge Roy Moore get elected, and we did, and of course it was successful. It was a huge success. And what the message the people of Alabama sent was, once again, the message that the establishment Republican Party refused to get when the people in this country elected Donald Trump. Steve Bannon has declared war on the establishment. And Paul Harrell, what we are going to do is send them a message. We intend to send the establishment yet another message that the people are fed up. We are sick and tired of the establishment Republican Party telling us, we know better than you what is in your best interest, so sit down, shut up, be a good little Republican, and send us your money. We are sick of that. The people of this country are standing up, and I believe that the people of this state have had enough as well. We shall see during this exploratory committee time.
Well, you're exactly right. It is going to be very interesting. But just to kind of piggyback off of what you just said and what we just heard Steve Bannon say, people who are maybe hostile towards the Donald Trump agenda. Okay, let's just talk about how that affects Arkansas. Let's just the Obamacare repeal effort. Now, the one that they and John McCain killed it. The real one, the one that we were trying to do, he killed it. We all know that. And it wasn't my perfect choice, right? I wanted them to do away with the whole thing. Some people said it was still Obamacare light. But our governor, Asa Hutchinson, he was to the left of Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan. He went on MSNBC and CNN and criticized the plan.
His favorite networks, by the way.
Yeah, he criticized the plan, which is essentially, was going against what Donald Trump wanted to do. I mean, so we have just in that issue alone an example of him not wanting Obamacare to be repealed.
Yes, and Governor Asa Hutchinson's record is egregious. I feel sorry for anybody in his campaign at this point who's going to have to try to help him find creative ways to defend his record, period. And of course, I've outlined on my pages a number of issues that I have with his record on in a number of different areas. So, yes, and when you said, let me just back up a little bit. When you said the Trump agenda, here's the problem, and here's what the establishment fails to see. It's not really the Trump agenda. It is we the people. It's our agenda. Donald Trump is simply the person that we sent to make it happen. And every time that Republicans fail to back him up, they are basically, they're not saying no to Donald Trump. They're saying no to we the people. It is the establishment better get that. That's the way we view it. That's the way the grassroots citizens view it. This is the man we sent. We sent him with an agenda, and every time he tries to fulfill the agenda that we sent him with, that we elected him on, you, the establishment, are standing in the way. Not about you, it's about us. So it is a personal slap in the face to the forgotten people of this country. Every time the establishment Republicans stand up and say no to the president. And they need to realize that.
That's exactly right. Jan Morgan, I appreciate you coming on the program so much.
Anytime,
look forward to doing it again soon. Good luck to you. Keep us posted. And have fun this weekend in Elma.
Yes, sir. Take
All right.
care.
Okay. Be safe. Folks, that wraps up the interview. We're going to take a break. The Liberty Machine's going to roll on. We're going to be back here in just a moment.
The Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
This is Mother Government. My people. The promised revenue gathering to fund my motherly goals, such as the Arkansas Works Obamacare private option, has commenced. I have asked my representatives and senators to execute my will concerning new revenues, from the tires you use to drive on my roads, the candy and sodas you consume and purchase in my stores, and the digital products you download on my internet. Your sacrifices and tributes, which are owed, display a measure of obedience, but there are still collectible sacrifices I require from the people to increase the work and size of our great government of Arkansas. There are two matters left unresolved. 1. I require a general tribute for all purchases made on my internet. Not just digital products, but all products. My dear children, there are those who would thwart my motherly goals of progress. If you see them, please combat their misguided notions of freedom by using phrases like mom and pop, and tax cheat. 2. I still require more revenue sacrifices concerning your consumption of my gasoline. I require your undying loyalty on the subject. Subjects, in conclusion. More revenue is good. Static revenue is bad. This message was brought to you by your stewards, aristocrats serving Arkansas. Thank you, my children, in advance for your required and expected obedience that keeps society safe and prosperous. And always remember, from cradle to grave,
PHP Parody.
Do you need to advertise your business product or service, but not sure what the best choice is? Folks, allow me to introduce you to talk radio. You're listening to it right now. Talk radio is one of the most unique mediums in all of advertising because it actually works. It gets the information you want to the people you want to get it to. And by the way, those people are educated, well-informed decision makers of their household, and most of them have disposable income. If this is a target audience for your business, then you have to consider advertising on my show, The Paul Harrell Program. We have options for most any budget and can provide you with exciting opportunities to grow your business. We can put your message across the state, or we can help you locally. Call 870-275-9755 if you have any questions. That's 870-275-9755, or visit my website, paulharrell.com, and click on Advertise.
All right, I want to thank again Jan Morgan for stopping by. That was a great interview, and I certainly know that she's channeling a lot of the frustration that I have felt over ever since Asa Hutchinson became governor. I'm going to be honest. Man is not a conservative. He just isn't. And our Facebook page and our live stream hits on the website are some of the highest they've ever been right now because everybody is so interested in Jan Morgan's candidacy. Do what? Yeah, maybe we should say hi to whoever is in the governor's office who was watching the interview as well. But just some of that, Dale on Facebook. That's right. It is about us. He's carrying out what we sent him there to do. What I've been saying here with Arkansas-specific issues, and I said this yesterday, and I'm probably going to say it again, the people have turned Arkansas red in, at least in Republican red, name only. We still have Democrats in power. We still have progressives who are in the Republican Party who are in the leadership, and they're hurting other true conservatives, not letting the agenda go through. And this has to do with the fact that, here it is right here. Marvin on Facebook, Asa is deep in the swamp. Time to drain the Arkansas swamp. People have got to realize that there's a swamp here in Arkansas, and a lot of people don't realize that. People have voted for reform. That's what the people of Arkansas have voted for. The Democrat Party has controlled or had controlled this legislature up until 2010 for 138 years. Think about that. 138 years. Do you think after 138 years of single-party legislative rule, do you think there needs to be reform? When people realize that the local Democrat in Arkansas that may be your Sunday school teacher is implementing and enabling the policies of Barack Obama in Washington, D.C., when people realized that and they started voting for Republicans, they were doing that because they recognized that Obama's policies of higher taxation, higher regulation, telling small business owners that you didn't build that, were secretly the same aspirations and thoughts of local Democrats here at the Democrat Party. That's the same thing that they believe. And so the fact that Asa Hutchinson and his nephews and other people in the Republican establishment that like to think that they're smart, they like to think that they're intellectual, and the Democrats, they grew government, but now we're behind the bus and we don't want to shrink government. We don't want to trade the Cadillac or the Benz in for, something that's a lot more economical. We don't want to do that because it feels so good to be in power. You guys haven't gotten the message. You haven't gotten the message. And the fact is, what I talk about are mostly and what Conduit talks about mostly is the economic situation and our economic freedoms and how that's a prerequisite to other freedoms. But the fact is, we've got Republicans that can't even get the Second Amendment right. I was talking to a friend today about how sometimes, there'll be a legislature or somebody ask about the Second Amendment to somebody outside of the legislature, outside of the General Assembly. Well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that, Second Amendment-wise? And I thought to myself, why does any Republican legislator actually need advice? Why does any Republican legislator actually need advice on whether or not a bill is going to strengthen your Second Amendment right to protect yourself, keep and bear arms, or weaken it? It should be very easy. Now, I know sometimes they make the bills confusing, and they do that for a reason. But, it's the truth. Why should any Republican need advice on protecting our religious freedom? Asa Hutchinson sought advice. Do you know where he went? Walmart. And Walmart told him to scrap the Religious Freedom Restoration Act in its current form back in 2015, throwing social conservatives under the bus. See, it's not just economic issues. It's not just Second Amendment issues. It's not just social issues. It's every single issue that we hold dear is being ignored by the people who are in positions of power. Well, for the most part. You could put like every now and then you give a carrot here or there, but it's just people who are embarrassed. Let me just say this. I think Asa Hutchinson is embarrassed of the Republican Party platform. I think Asa Hutchinson is embarrassed of the base that voted him into office. Would anyone dispute that? That a big portion of the Republicans who voted for Asa Hutchinson or are voting for Republicans, and this goes with Mitch McConnell and the rest of them, I think they are actually embarrassed of the people that vote for them. Think about that. You know that that's the case. They think they're smarter than us. Ronald Reagan said it best, and we have it at the top of every hour, right? A little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives better than we can plan them ourselves. They think they know better. We've got one more hour coming your way next. We've got a Conduit for Action weekly quiz. That's up at conduitforaction.org. Joe's going to take another stab at it. I think you're going to do well. And then we want to compare party platforms as well next hour. Don't go anywhere. One more hour coming your way next.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Going to be the Medicaid expansion dollars. And we are, we've since proven that we would have been cheaper it would have been cheaper for us as a state to have just expanded traditional Medicaid services and not been buying private insurance. But yet we're still going to continue to do that. And, once you involve companies who are making hundreds of millions of dollars of profit each year, they like to donate to politicians and they like to, offer jobs and do this other all this other stuff. And that makes it hard to, to affect change in the legislature because we have too many people who are afraid of not getting those campaign contributions, I guess. Or other stuff. The list goes on.
I don't want to. I got another question here. We're talking with State Representative Josh Miller, District 66. That includes Heber Springs. Are you calling from Heber? Is that where you're calling from?
Well, actually, I'm calling from the hilltop right above my farm where I'm about to go deer hunt.
Oh, nice. Okay, all right.
So I'm in southern Stone County right now.
Okay, all right, southern Stone County. All right. So I don't want to, here's my issue. I just want your honest reaction to this. Among the leadership that are Republicans, that I don't even know if they're claiming to be conservatives anymore, Josh, that's kind of why this is a tough question. But there's never a loss of credibility. And part of that is because we have a mainstream media that leaves a lot of the people in the dark. But when you look at Senator Jim Hendren, for example, who used his past credentials to say, follow me, I'll end Medicaid expansion. Still no one's called and told me that it's ended yet. We still have it. He's on record saying it was going to end it. That wasn't a true statement. And we were going to do real tax reform this last session. The governor said no. Hendren said no. And Hendren said, follow me. I'll create another task force, and we'll get real tax reform. We now find out that that's pretty much not going to happen. He's hired a lifelong Democrat to advise a red state, or a supposed red state, how to proceed with lowering taxes. We're the highest tax state around. It costs almost $8,000 per capita to run our government when it costs $5,000 per capita to run Oklahoma or Texas or, all the states around us on average. And, those are some big, that's a big problem. So why do none of these guys, when they fail to deliver actual limited government results, they never lose their credibility, it seems like? What's your response to that?
My response is twofold. Number one, I think that we do live in a red state. There's enough people that have gotten tired of government operating the way it has been in the past, and they have voted overwhelmingly for a change. So I think the direction that you and I are talking about, the direction that you and I would like to see things go, is wildly popular with the working men and women in the state of Arkansas. I have no doubt about that. Our problem is that you touched on it just a second ago. We don't have enough of the mainstream media that is willing to, if nothing else, just say, hey, aren't you flip-flopping on your last position? They don't do that very often. And number two is, this is a problem, and I'm not by any means, hey, listen, I'm a regular citizen person, whatever, long before I'm a legislator. So I'm talking to myself in as much as I'm talking to anybody else. But one of the other issues that we've got to have, and I think this is because there's, like I said, there's probably not enough media coverage of the actual facts, but we have a lot more people in the state of Arkansas right now who voted overwhelmingly for change. They voted for candidates all across the state that were going to change things. They voted for Donald Trump. They voted for Asa Hutchinson thinking, hey, you know what? We don't want another 4 to 8 years of the direction Mike Beebe was leading us. And they voted for Asa Hutchinson over Mike Ross. But the vast majority of that population right now is more up in arms about Jeff Long's buyout and the contract with Brett Bielema and the poor state of the Razorback football program than they are about the poor state of the Arkansas state government.
Yeah.
And the fact that our tax dollars are being wasted on a regular basis. And, I've started, when I've been speaking to folks, I've just been saying, hey, hold us accountable. I want my district to hold me accountable. If I am guilty of telling my folks one thing when I campaign and I go to Little Rock and all of a sudden my IQ jumps up, 100 points, and I now know so much more than everyone else, and I see that I was wrong to have the position that I had when I campaigned, that the people elected me in our democratic system, that's how and why they elected me was based on that message, and I go down there and I do something like that, I want my district to hold me accountable and say, hey, you know what?
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Hey, folks, welcome back to the program. This is hour number 2. Congratulations, you have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We're building a liberty machine. Thank you so much. Telephone number 870-275-9799. Let's go to the phones. We've got caller Blaine in White County. Blaine, you're on the Paul Harrell Program. What's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to point out that you were talking about how high our taxes are. If Trump's plan goes through and they eliminate the exemption for state taxes paid, then here in Arkansas, we'll be affected a ton, just like New York, California, and all the other places that have been run by liberals forever.
That's a really good point. Now, what you're talking about is being able to write off our state income tax. And, you know, most people, if you make $35,000 or above, you're in that 6.9%. That hasn't really changed. So you're saying if Donald Trump's plan goes into effect, you know, we're not going to be able to write off that 6.9% anymore when we pay our federal taxes. That's what you're saying?
Exactly.
So,
and that's by design. The reason that they're doing that actually is because they want people to actually feel the full force of the taxes they're voting for, which I can assure you we will be here.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. Well, so Blaine, honest question. I mean, ACE has been in charge for 3 years. We've got massive Republican majorities, since 2015. Who do you blame for that? Who do you blame more? I mean, you're going to blame Donald Trump for putting out a tax policy that makes sense to every other normal Republican state. Who are you going to blame for it?
Oh no, this is ASA all the way. We did more as Republicans under Mike Beebe than we have gotten done under ASA.
I mean, you
go look at that first year or the first year we had control under Mike Beebe, and we passed voter ID, we passed abortion bills, or anti-abortion bills, sorry.
Yep.
We passed all kinds of things that now they're just a bunch of craven lunatics who don't have the guts to stand up and do what's right.
You are exactly right, Blaine. I mean, they overrode Mike Beebe's veto. It's what got a lot of Democrats in trouble and lost elections for him because it was specifically tied to the abortion bills. We did pass voter ID. That was Brian King's deal. Now, the Supreme Court then found it unconstitutional, and guess what we didn't do? We didn't come back and decide, if it's unconstitutional, then we'll put a constitutional amendment out and say that you got to have a voter an ID to vote. You know, ASA, that they didn't do that this time. So I mean, you make really good points.
Well, they've had 2 legislative sessions to put that on the ballot that they could have, and have not done it either time. Now, you're talking about something that's 80% plus approval in the population, Democrats and Republicans alike, and they're just too cowardly or have other priorities they don't want to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you make some great points. That tax policy, if Donald Trump's tax policy goes through, and it's got a lot of great things. Businesses won't be taxed more than 25%, doubling the standard deductions from $12,000 to $24,000. But you're right, Arkansas and other blue states, and it's crazy to lump Arkansas in, but we've wasted so much time on a stupid task farce that we're going to get hit. And we're going to end up having to pay more money in this whole deal, and it's absolutely ridiculous, and it is on ACE's shoulders. Blaine in White County, I appreciate you calling in, sir. Thanks so much. All right, folks, the telephone number.
All right, Paul, it's good to talk to you.
Yes, sir, absolutely. The telephone number, folks, if you want to sound off on the program, 870-275-9799. We'll be glad to take your calls or text, 870-275-9799. And you know what that sound is. That's right. So Joe, every week, he takes our Conduit for Action quizzes and surveys, and they've got a new one up. The good folks at CFA have a brand new one up, and it's pretty good. It says, how many branches of government does Arkansas have? What are the proper roles of those branches? How do the branches balance each other out? Take the quiz at conduitforaction.org. It's their separation of powers quiz. Knowledge is power. Knowing is half the battle.
Well, the last 2 weeks I've got 100 on the quiz, so...
Oh, wow. Well, let me just tell you, if you don't get 100 on this one, I don't...
Oh, no.
I really don't think.
Oh, no.
I'm not going to know what to think, Joe. All right. So go ahead and let's click on it, load it up. It says it right here. Go ahead and click OK to start the quiz. This first one, question number 1, how many branches of government are there in Arkansas? 2, 3, 5, or 10?
Well, considering state governments are modeled after our current, like the national government, I'm going to go with 3.
All right, 3. Question number 2. What are the branches of Arkansas government?
Definitely the same as we have on the national level, executive, judicial, and legislative.
Okay.
Our executive is the governor, the judicial is the Arkansas Supreme Court, and legislative is our state Congress.
Yes. You could also refer to the legislative branch as egomaniacs. That would be the branch, egomaniac branch. Question number 3, which branch of government interprets the law, adjudicates civil criminal cases, and balances the Arkansas Constitution against legislative and executive branch action? This branch does not make the law. A, judicial, B, executive, C, administrative, or D, imperial.
I like imperial. I like the way that one sounds.
Yeah, why can't the
executive branch be imperial?
Why can't it be imperial?
I don't know, but I'm gonna go with judicial because that's the one branch that's left out of this question.
Which one?
Judicial.
You go with judicial?
Because it says and balances the Arkansas Constitution against legislative and executive branch action.
Okay.
The one that's not there, judicial.
So you're not gonna go with imperial?
No,
that's what you're telling me.
Even though I so want to.
Okay. Because
this is better music, in my opinion.
I mean, that's what you should. That's what you should do. Okay, all right,
yeah.
Sorry.
If you want to play that music for the rest of the time, I'm okay with that.
No thanks. All right. Question number 4. Which branch of government makes the law, determines how much the state taxes and spends, and is the policy-making branch of the government? A, executive, B, legislative, D, judicial, C, judicial, D, administrative branch. I don't think John Williams ever wrote a catchy theme to the administrative branch. Which one is it? Which branch makes the law?
That would be legislative.
Okay. All right. You sure about that? You know what I told you about that.
You see the look on my face, and that's all you have to do is just like, because
I can tell you're for some reason second guessing yourself.
Yeah, because the executive branch is the other one in the back of my mind, because the executive branch signs bills into law, whereas the legislative branch...
Joe, I'm going to need you to stop right now. I'm going to need you to stop, and I'm going to need you to just say right here, disclaimer, that you will accept the results of the quiz and you're not going to overanalyze everything.
Yes, I will accept the results of the quiz because...
you were a terrible student. I mean, just awful. Challenging the teacher and authority all the time.
That's what I do.
So what are you going with?
I'm going with legislative.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Question number 5. Which branch of government implements and enforces the laws and regulations created? A, executive, B, judicial, C, administrative, D...
There's that imperial again, man.
Imperial.
I want to vote for it. I want to click on it, but it's not right.
I like the imperial option. All right, so...
it's the executive branch.
Interestingly enough, I know Jimmy Kimmel's not very popular right now among conservatives. Okay? Like, interestingly enough. However, a personal friend of mine made a Star Wars-themed commercial parody for a dentist here in Arkansas. Dr. Abernathy is his name. He's also a friend of mine. And it's amazing. The editing's incredible. Everyone's talking about it. The views have absolutely exploded And it's a Star Wars themed, and so it starts off in episode, A New Hope, and they instead of having
the proper way to start to watch the series.
Well, instead of having the graph when they're going over the plot to take out the Death Star, instead it's a tooth, and the X-wing fires a laser into a canal, and it's advertising this new laser technology, and I don't know how new it is, but it's called PIPS, and it actually is a way to do root canals without traditional tools and files. And I'm telling you, it's absolutely fantastic. If you want to look it up on YouTube, and I think if you just Google Abernathy Dental, it's going to come up. It's because it's an extremely popular video, and it made Jimmy Kimmel the other night. So,
really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's how good this video is. This parody video is. It is hilarious, and the editing's great. And they even take at the end part of the Star Wars Christmas special that is banished, and they put that at the end. It's fantastic.
How did they find that? I've never seen it.
Oh, dude, I own a copy because I know the right people. I know the right people.
Because I've never seen it.
No, it's awful. No, you can't get through it.
No, that's the thing. I want to watch it because it's so awful, and I've heard so many legendary tales.
Okay, all right, sorry. All right, back to question number 6. Which branch of government is the proper branch to oversee the rules of evidence and rules of procedure for courts of law? A, legislative. B, judicial. C, executive. D, there it is again, imperial. Okay, Joe, which one is it?
It's judicial.
Judicial. All right, now question 7 is a good one. No, I'm sorry. We already did question 6. So question 6 is a really good one. Which branch of government is the proper branch to oversee the rules of evidence? That is a big one. I'm going to tell you about it here in a minute. We're going to get the results, though, first. All right, so, Joe, whenever you're ready, hit submit.
Do you know what I got on it?
You got 100%.
Hey.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
You pass basic civics. Yep. This is like the first test in 8th grade civics.
Yeah, I haven't had civics since 8th grade.
Okay, really? This is a huge problem.
I took a politics class in my freshman year, but it was just basic. It was just basic politics. It wasn't anything like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was that class about tearing down the institutions and
this was
burning campuses down? This wasn't that kind of politics.
This was way prior to that whole movement.
Okay.
I'm glad it wasn't.
Hey, honestly, in all seriousness, though, the Imperial March, it really is the tune of these anti-fascist type people. I mean, you got to remember, the Emperor Palpatine wanted peace in the galaxy,
quote,
and
unquote.
That meant total oppression of everybody else's rights and anybody who disagreed with him. I mean, that's certainly something. But to scroll down here, scroll down to the bottom, the last question, 6, okay? This particular question is, you need to know, which branch of government is the proper branch to oversee rules of evidence and rules of procedure in the courts of law? It is the judicial branch. If you vote for the tort reform amendment next November, though, if you vote for the tort reform next November, guess what's going to happen? The judicial branch will no longer set rules of evidence, and the legislative branch will. Now, that's a big change. Nobody wants to talk about it. And let me tell you something. I know how susceptible the legislature is to special interest. And I do not want those egomaniacs trying to set rules of a courtroom. I can tell you that much right now.
That's a little absurd, considering a lot of the people in the legislative branch are lawyers, so they're going to try to twist things to make it to benefit them.
And that's a great point. Gosh, that's a good point, Joe. Very good job. They already think they should. A lot of these lawyers want to be judges eventually anyway, and so it's like, well, of course we know how to do it. We're lawyers. No, you're not a judge. Okay. The whole thing is ridiculous. Anyway, the phone number, call us, text us, 870-275-9799. Coming up in the next long segment, I want to compare party platforms. I want to build on this concept we talked about last hour when we interviewed Jan Morgan and in the spillover segment. Do the people in the Republican Party establishment actually, are they embarrassed of you? Are they embarrassed of the base? Are they? I'm going to talk more about that here in a minute. Before we do that, though, I want to talk to you guys for a second about our Patreon page. Okay, you can feel free to throw it up there, Joe, if you want. Our Patreon page, I've been very encouraged by the subscribers that we've gotten in the first 4 weeks of this, and we've got 3 levels. And look, we can go over them. You can read about them at patreon.com/thephp. But it's $5 a month, or $10 a month, or $25 a month. And look, I know I know your money is valuable to you, but I'm trying to do something for you. I want to give you more content. Our Wednesday weekly video is out now. If you subscribe now, $5 or more, you'll be able to get all of the Wednesday weekly videos that we've done so far. And this is extra content. This is a way to keep the show growing, because I know, ladies and gentlemen, that we've got to get more people involved, and that takes money to do it. And so we are going to continue to pursue liberty. We're going to continue to build the liberty machine, and this is one of the ways you can help us build the liberty machine. And you actually get extra content, and you know, T-shirts and surveys and lists and all kinds of things to help produce the program, depending on which tier that you subscribe to. All right, if you see a value in the program, if it's a value to you, I just want you to consider. If you think what we're doing here is unlike anything else in Arkansas, I just want you to consider partnering with me, partnering with this movement to try to educate as many people about what's really going on down at the Marble Palace. It's patreon.com/thephp. I would really appreciate it. Back in just a moment.
The Paul Harrell Program.
This is State Representative Dan Sullivan with a Liberty Moment. If all men are created equal, that's final. If they are endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights, that's final. If governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, that's final. No advance, no progress can be made beyond these propositions. If anyone wishes to deny their truth or their soundness, the only direction in which he can proceed historically is not forward but backward, toward the time when there was no equality, no rights of the individual, and no rule by the people.
Paid for by Sullivan for Arkansas. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
It's a PHP parody.
Hey, man. You got any of that marble rock?
Yeah, I've got the hookup.
Thanks. I need a fix real bad. I'm itching to grow some government.
How much you need?
I'm gonna need a taxpayer's dime bag.
No problem, sir. 1 taxpayer dime of marble rock. Enjoy.
Thanks, man. They don't call it Little Rock for nothing. Am I right?
Did you know your state representative or state senator may be addicted to growing government? The drug is called marble rock, and too much of it will cause marble fever. Watch for the warning signs. Does your legislator suddenly display a lack of humility when faced with basic questions? Does he or she suddenly develop hubris and pride that was not present during the campaign for office? These are signs they might be smoking the terrible drug marble rock. The solution? Detox. Vote for detox. Vote to send them home for their own good. Warning! Some politicians once voted out of office will not go home and stay in Little Rock to get their fix by lobbying, also known as the Burris Syndrome.
PHP parody. Need to get something off your chest? Then call or text Paul now, 870-275-9799.
In all seriousness, Joe, I have a question for you about the new Star Wars trailer, though. I know we had a little fun with the Imperial March. Have you seen the new Star Wars trailer?
Yeah, I've seen it.
You don't like it? You don't like it? I thought it was fantastic.
No, it's not that. Okay, I thought it was fantastic. I really liked. I always enjoy Star Wars content.
Yeah,
always enjoy. Like it got me to the point where I would like last night I sat down and I was like, I want to watch Star Wars, but where do I want to start?
Okay, all right, hang on. I just want to know what you think about the trailer.
I thought the trailer was excellent, but it doesn't help when the day after they release it, the director goes, guys, if you really don't want to, don't watch it. The director didn't want anyone to watch it because apparently there are quite a few pieces in there that are spoilery.
Oh, I see. Now that you say that, I didn't know that that's what the director said, but when I watched it, I thought, wow, they're giving away an awful lot of the story. You know, that's kind of what I thought.
But based off of the trailer that we did see, I don't think anyone can actually say that this will be a knockoff of Episode 5.
Yeah.
The way people were saying.
Oh no, I mean
The Force Awakens will be
dark.
It's
a
little more edgy.
Of course, Empire Strikes Back was like, getting kicked in the shins. I mean, it was rough. Empire. It was a great movie.
Okay, I thought you were going to say Empire.
No,
Empire's the best one.
Yeah, but I mean, it's all the main characters. That's when they go through their crucible. That's when it's hard.
Oh yeah, but no, Empire's
very much like the Two Towers, by the way.
Absolutely,
Wandering around in the mountains, Sam and Frodo. That was rough.
Empire is the best Star Wars movie.
Okay, yeah, everybody agrees. It's on like the top 100 best movies of all time.
I think it's in the top 10.
Like who does those rankings?
IMDb.
Okay, yeah, IMDb.
The International Movie Database.
Yeah, that Empire just is that good as far as the sequel goes. All right, I'm going to compare party platforms. And this is from Joe, you're going to want to pull up the Conduit for Action article that we visited on Monday. And it's a very simple read. Do your Republican office holders follow the platform? Okay, so you're going to want to pull that up. And Empire Strikes Back is number 13 on that list, by the way. This is fantastic. At the bottom of the page, they link the different party platforms: Republican National Committee, Republican Party of Arkansas, Democrat National Committee, Democrat Party of Arkansas, Libertarian Party of Arkansas, Democrat Socialist of America, and then the Communist Party USA. And I'm just going to go over these because some people, obviously, don't like this platform. And in so doing, they are, I believe now, embarrassed of you, the base. They are embarrassed of the voters. Case in point, Asa Hutchinson didn't even want to debate whether or not we need a law protecting boys that go into boys' rooms or girls that go into girls' rooms. Didn't even want to have the debate. I think that's because he's embarrassed in some cases of you because, I'm sure people like Walmart are like, don't listen to them. They're backwoods people.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
You might as well resign now because you're not going back.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
And until we start having some of that, and again, I think it goes back to, we're regular people. I don't get up. I'm in the legislature, and I get up and I deal with it, yes, on a regular basis. But then I deal with work, and I deal with, the same things that everybody else has to deal with. And it's like you don't have time to consume yourself with it, like maybe you and I do.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the reasons I do the show. I want people to listen to this show and what you're saying. Go ahead.
No, you're exactly right, and that's one of the reasons I appreciate you and this show, and Conduit and all these other organizations that chip in, because this is so important. Because I think the more that folks know. Just like I was in my district out and about at a couple of things over the last week or two, and I told folks about, hey, we're spending several $100,000 to hire a consultant to advise us on tax reform. And, folks are like, well, isn't that y'all's job? Yeah. And I'm like, yes, exactly. The vast majority of people, it doesn't matter how long they've been voting Republican or not, they think this is foolish. They're just not exposed to it as often as we are, and that's why the Paul Harrell program is such a great asset.
Josh,
to the state of Arkansas.
I appreciate that.
Let
me give you one more question to throw at you. The news came out today. Jan Morgan has announced that she's forming an exploratory committee to run for governor to primary Asa Hutchinson. Now, you yourself, Josh, were targeted by Asa for being too conservative. He found you an opponent, and you beat him. What are your thoughts on Jan Morgan announcing today?
Well, for one, let me just say I'm just very blessed to serve a great district that didn't buy the hype that was being thrown at them, and so it's not so much me. Number two, I think it's great that we've got some competition here. I've been on your program before, and I was talking about another potential candidate, and I said, that I would be happy to write him a check and sign up for his campaign today if he announced he was going to run. I still feel that way about that particular candidate, but I can assure you of one thing, that if it comes down and once the signing period is up, and it's Miss Morgan and Asa Hutchinson running in the Republican primary, Miss Morgan has my full support.
Josh Miller, I appreciate you coming on the program, sir, talking about this consultant business and the news of the day. Appreciate you being a true conservative, and I appreciate the people in your district, like you said, for being able to see through Asa's carefully crafted language and picking you because of what you did. So I appreciate it, sir. You be safe, okay?
Hey, thanks a lot, Paul.
All righty.
Appreciate you having me.
Happy hunting. Folks, we're going to take a break. Before we do, I want to remind you
Watch Paul live at paulharrell.com. It's free and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because the Liberty Machine never sleeps.
So, Joe, on Facebook, Rick on Facebook is writing in our feed, our quiz on government that you just took over at Conduit for Action. He writes, what about the Arkansas Game and Fish and the Arkansas, let's see, AHTD? Let's see, is that going to be Highway Department? Highway Transportation. What about the Arkansas Game and Fish and the Arkansas Highway Transportation Department? Really, the fourth and fifth branches of mother government, in my opinion. That's Rick on Facebook. He makes a good point. That's true.
In my opinion, we should add a sixth one as well. DHS.
DHS is certainly one as well, isn't it? It actually controls the governor. The governor doesn't control it. Yep. That's what's weird. Arkansas Game and Fish it can't even be counted as a branch of government. Arkansas Game and Fish is so powerful. They're like the
they are the government.
They really are. The Arkansas Game and Fish is so powerful. They're like the umbrella that's just over the entire state, right? It's just an umbrella, and underneath that are tiny three little branches of government: a executive, legislative, and judicial branch. And the umbrella that is the Arkansas Game and Fish is just completely independent and has no bearing on anything. I mean, there needs to be. You're talking about reform. Arkansas Game and Fish have a constitutional authority that is tyrannical, in my opinion, soft tyranny. And I know there's people that are listening that agree with this. There's way too much authority. And the reason it's gotten to the point, and there are good intentions always, we got to do this and that. And Arkansas Game and Fish, it's the ER factor. Arkansas Game and Fish gets created. We want to make things better, right?
I'd say
better factor.
I would say DHS has a very similar umbrella over the state of Arkansas.
Well, it's not they're not in the Constitution.
Well,
the way game and fish are. That's the difference.
Well, the reason why I think that is because of the way, like, all the stories that we hear about DHS taking kids from homes that don't need to be, from accidents that aren't actually, like, because they would say, "Oh man, this was clearly a case of abuse," where it wasn't. It was an accident.
Yeah, and we have to go through that.
You have to go through so much, like all of these loopholes,
make
like
families' lives a complete nightmare.
Exactly, like that's a form, in my opinion, of tyranny.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is.
Soft, whatever.
And why has it gotten so tyrannical? The factor. DHS is created, and then it's like, well, no, we still DHS is created, and we still have people who do bad things to their kids. And so that means we got to have even more regulations to make people safer. And then you lump in the good parents that, an honest accident happens, and then you get investigated for 6 months.
Oh, just wait until DHS starts running out of money for some reason or other.
Gosh.
Then it's pain point politics at that point.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And with Medicaid expansion, they will. Very good. Yeah, that's exactly right. But with Arkansas Game and Fish, they're created. We need help. We need content. We got too many poachers, or whatever the reason is. And they're here, and okay, well, we need to conserve more now. Oh, now we're not ever going to show up, set our limits, and then go away. No, we've got to make things better, safer. We got to conserve more, right? And this is the way government grows. Government agencies created, and then they invent new responsibilities for themselves. And it's awful. And specifically with the wildlife, I mean, it really comes down to this. As an individual with God-given unalienable rights, are these animals God's gift to man? Or are these animals first God's gift to a collective state that then gives them back? Are the animals on your property God's gift to you? I would say the answer is yes. But Arkansas Game and Fish, at least at this point, operates on the premise that the answer is no. Those are not God's gifts to you. Those are not God's resources to you. They're first God's resources to the Arkansas Game and Fish. And then they'll let you occasionally.
Because as we all know, the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission has existed since the beginning of time.
Of course. We all know that.
They're timeless.
Timeless. That's exactly right.
They were back during the age of the dinosaurs.
And here's the thing, we could talk about what about this? What about that? First of all, just like local government, it's better when it's closest to yourself. I mean, I know property owners that know their property backwards and forwards, and you know what? We better be happy that it wasn't all left up to a state agency, because these property owners actually know their land and they know what it needs, and a government agency doesn't. But you could say, okay, well, we still need something. All right, okay. Are you going to tell me, though, that the Arkansas Game and Fish has not outpaced what it was originally intended for, and that there's never anybody that's going to say, no, this is not your responsibility when somebody has a new bright idea? It's just about control, and it operates on the premise. Say what you want to. I know there's a lot of people out there that appreciate nature and appreciate the beauty of it and the divine fingerprints that are all around us. It operates on the premise that the stuff that's around us is not yours because you can't handle it. You're too irresponsible to handle it. It's not your gift from God. It's to the state first, and then they're going to give it back to you. We have reverted back to literally, you're poaching the king's deer. Anyone ever seen the opening scene or one of the opening scenes in Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? If you can get past the fact that Kevin Costner, for some reason, doesn't need to speak with an English accent in that movie, it's actually really, really good.
When I think of a Robin Hood, I don't think of Prince of Thieves. I think of Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Okay, of course you do.
It's an excellent film.
That actually came out right after Prince of Thieves.
It's so funny, though.
Yeah, well,
the movie is hilarious.
Anyway, that's my spiel on the Arkansas Game and Fish. Do we have more comments coming? No. Okay. Next up, let's compare some party platforms, shall we? Scroll down to the bottom of that Conwood page. You see that right there? This is the first thing I want to check out. I'm going to skip the Republican National Committee. I don't really care about them. But I do want to talk about the Republican Party of Arkansas. Click the Republican Party of Arkansas link. We're going to read some of this. These are the principles of the Republican Party of Arkansas. Number one, that individual citizens are willing and capable of managing their own affairs without government intervention. Yeah, tell that to Asa and the gang when they created an extra infringement on your Second Amendment rights with now a new license. Number two, that the local, state, and national governments must pursue policies designed to encourage individual initiative and induce people to be responsible for their own economic, political, and social well-being. We're not encouraging anything. We're not encouraging initiative.
We are encouraging something. We are encouraging dependency.
Dependency. That's exactly right. And Governor Asa Hutchinson is going to say, well, no, Arkansas Works is encouraging. No, it's not. We haven't even gotten approval yet for what your little scheme is. And plus, how many people? We haven't even seen the statistics. And when we do see them, they're going to be negative. Trust me, when you finally see the statistics, how many people were thrown off the program because they chose not to work? You know how hard it's going to be under their little guidelines to get kicked off the program because you're not working under their, quote, part-time work requirements? It's not even a work requirement because you can go volunteer, you can go take classes, you can do all kinds of stuff to keep on the taxpayer's dime. No. I wonder how much of this is carefully crafted, by the way, just so it fits Ace's agenda. I'm just telling you right now. He controls the RPA. Why do you think Jake Files is still in office? Question number 3. The primary function of government is to protect the life, common liberty, and property of the governed, to prevent fraud and misinterpretation, and to invoke a common justice. Oh, by the way, did I just mention Jake Files? This is the Republican Party of Arkansas saying that the primary function of government is to protect life, common liberty, and property of the governed, to prevent fraud. To prevent fraud. Hello, anybody home? Fraudulent Jake Files. What a bunch of hypocrites. Number 4, that when a function is undertaken by government, it should be performed by that government closest to the people, which will provide as much direct control by those affected as reason and wisdom require to assure freedom and liberty to all citizens with justice under the law. What about putting all that GIF money that's now unconstitutional and just now giving it to the governor, because that's local, and let him have even more control over your state representatives and senators, able to punish or reward? Question number 5. That our national stability and expansion of the free enterprise system can best be assured by application of the constitutional principles that unite the American people. Constitutional principles like taking your money, Arkansas hard business owner, and giving it away to another private company to try to lure them here. Those kind, everybody knows that was what the framers had in mind, that the government and business line between the two would become so blurred that you don't know where one ends and the other begins. The national stability, the free enterprise system. Asa thinks giving your money away to Chinese companies to come here at some point in the next 5,000 years and create anywhere from 10 to 200 jobs. He thinks that's the free enterprise system. And it's not. I got news for you. It's not. Telephone number is 870-275-9799. Okay, that's the Republican Party of Arkansas. Let's go over to the Libertarian platform. Let's just say, let's go Libertarian National Party first. I don't care about the Democrat Party. Okay, click on the Democrat Party of Arkansas one. Click on that one. We'll go over that one first. All right, hang on. Let me open this up. It's a PDF. Yeah, I know. We'll get to the high points. Hang on. I'm doing this cold. I didn't have, okay, preamble. Fundamental principles of the Democrat Party of Arkansas are the promotion of individual freedom, equality of opportunity, community empowerment, and health environment, and a vibrant democracy. All are essential if Arkansas is to reach its full potential.
I'd like to point something out.
Yeah.
They said to promote a vibrant democracy. When are people going to get it through their heads that we're not a democracy?
That's exactly right.
We're a democratic republic. A republic. That means we elect people to represent us. We do not vote directly for things.
Every single issue, with the exception of constitutional amendments, things like that.
That's a different story.
Yeah, I know.
But still, we're a republic. We're not a democracy.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't this read like the beginning of a carefully crafted language Republican statement? Think about this. Let's replace Democratic Party of Arkansas with Republican Party. The fundamental principles of the Republican Party of Arkansas are the promotion of individual freedom, equality of opportunity, community empowerment, a healthy environment, and a vibrant democracy. All are essential if Arkansas is to reach its full potential. Now, this sounds
like a statement from
Asa Hutchinson. I know. Now, interesting. This is a Democrat Party that has had to they have had to create carefully crafted language to have any appeal with the average Arkansan at all. I mean, the Democrat Party has never been about, the modern Democrat Party has never been about individualism.
Did you notice that this is the 2016 party platform? So this is an updated edition from past. So they've updated to probably move with the times of the shift in Arkansas.
Well, exactly. This is, I mean, the Democrat Party is about groups, just like the Communist Party is about groups, okay? When they talk in the second paragraph, a spirit of individualism is the root, unmatched success of the American experiment has been a defining characteristic of Arkansas since the state's founding 180 years ago. Blah, 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 blah. The Democrat Party of Arkansas is also committed to equality of opportunity for all Arkansans. I mean, this suggests that, it doesn't exist right now. This is, playing to the leftist idea. Though there's so much discrimination out there, nobody can get ahead. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. This is about race right here. First and foremost, this involves the party's commitment to work to remove legal structures that treat individuals inequitably based on their socioeconomic status or group membership. See, there it is, groups. It took to the third, fourth paragraph to get there, but here we are. Groups is what they're about. It's just microwave socialism or microwave communism. Let's see. Ethics, let's skip that. Education. Let's keep going. Is there anything on tax policy? Economic development, agriculture, transportation and infrastructure, environment and energy, healthcare. The Democrat Party is dedicated to guaranteeing health security for all Arkansans and to containing healthcare costs for families and businesses. Arkansas Democrats seek to improve the quality of health care in our state. We support policies that lower health care costs for all Arkansans, guarantee access to health care for all, improve our hospitals, and ensure that the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences is a world leader in delivering health care and research. Again, this would fit into all of the establishment Republicans' goals concerning Obamacare.
The thing that says we support policies that lower health care costs for all Arkansas, clearly not, because our healthcare costs are through the roof.
Yeah, well, exactly. They think we can afford it, and you would assume that some Republicans agree that, or they wouldn't continue Obamacare, that people in the middle class or beyond need to pay more for their healthcare costs than they need to, so that others who are poor get it for free.
Well, here's the thing. What we need to do is we need to take all the legislatures and everyone who's been pushing this down this, not even just Arkansas, but the national level too, down the throats of the people, put them on Obamacare and put them on that, and see how they like it for a few years.
Listen to their statement on taxes. It's on down on page 13. Arkansans deserve fairer taxes for the same tax rate to apply to a worker making $34,000 and a person making $340,000 is inconsistent with Arkansas values. So that's a fair. So they're actually against a fair tax. Now, have any Republicans, has Asa Hutchinson at all come out and said, you know what? We don't need an income tax. Which would, by the way, be completely the opposite of this progressive income tax. Let's just compare what the Republicans have done with what the Democrat Party platform says. They're in lockstep. Asa has embraced the progressive tax code. He presumably agrees with it. He just wants to take our 6.5% income tax rate down to 5%. That's what he says. He's only our 6.9%. He was at 7%. Now it's at 6.9%. He gave those making $24,000 or less a year a tax break. Okay, so he likes the progressive income tax model, and so do the Democrats, for purposes of fairness, just like Obama said. Even though he was confronted by Charlie Gibson during the Democratic primary debate between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, Charles Gibson said that when you lower capital gains tax rates, the receipts actually go up. when he said that? Obama said that may be so, but for purposes of fairness, it needs to be higher. We're talking about punishing success and creating an incentive to not invest your money. That is what the Democrats believe, and Republicans in this state do very little to try to uproot that entire mentality. The only way I would be for a progressive income tax, let me say this again, the only way I would ever be for a progressive income tax is if we passed a constitutional amendment that said these are the rates, they will never move again, so politicians have to stop using them as putting us into groups and pitting rich Americans against poor Americans. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the only way. And I would only agree to that if they were really, really low. I'm just telling you like it is. What else? Libertarian preamble. As libertarians, we seek a world of liberty, a world in which all individuals are sovereign over their own lives, and no one is forced to sacrifice his or her values for the benefit of others. That's pretty good. Those heartless libertarians. The Libertarian Party of Arkansas. This is their preamble. As libertarians, we seek a world of liberty, a world in which all individuals are sovereign over their own lives and no one is forced to sacrifice his or her values for the benefit of others. We believe that respect for individual rights is the essential precondition for a free and prosperous world, that force and fraud must be banished from human relationships, and that only through freedom can peace and prosperity be realized. Consequently, we defend each person's right to engage in any activity that is peaceful and honest and welcome the diversity that freedom brings. The world we seek to build is one where individuals are free to allow their own dreams in their own ways without interference from government or any authoritarian power. In the following pages, we've set forth our basic principles and enumerated various policies stands. You can find all this out at conduitforaction.org. I'm not done, Joe. You can find this all out at conduitforaction.org and read them all for yourselves in one of their recent pieces. Then we go over to the Democrat Socialists of America. The Democrat Socialists of America. This is very interesting. Now, the Republican Party platform sounds great, right? The principles of it, the platform, sounds really good. I would suggest to you that absent that platform being realized and implemented, all other roads lead to socialism and communism. One may be doing it quickly, the other may be doing it gradually, and that's what's so sad about some of these Republicans who don't understand what we are truly facing right here at home. We are socialists. This is from the Democrat Socialists of America. We are socialists because we reject an economic order based on private profit. Okay, moving on. That's all you need to know. That's a terrible idea. They don't like private profit. I don't want to hear anything else. The Communist Party USA. This is their preamble. The Communist Party USA is of and for the U.S. working class. Our U.S. working class is multiracial and multinational. See, we immediately have groups. It unites men and women, young and old, gay and straight, native-born and immigrant, urban and rural. Not really. We are employed and unemployed, organized and unorganized, and of all occupations, the vast majority of our society.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
How can you be considered working class when you're unemployed?
That's very good. Yeah. Well, the totalitarian state hasn't put them in slave camps yet. That's what that means. They go on. We are a party of African Americans, Mexican Americans, Caribbean, Central and South Americans, Native Americans, Middle Eastern, Central, South, and East Asia, and Pacific Islanders, and all racially and nationally oppressed peoples, as well as women, youth, and all other working people. That's right. If you're youth,
not a man. If you're not a man.
If you're a youth, what if you're a white, a young person? Are you oppressed? The roots of the Communist Party extend deep into our nation's soil, even far beyond our founding in Chicago in 1919. We build a legacy of those who fought against slavery for the right. See, this is what's funny about the Communist Party. A long time ago, and this is from Jordan Peterson, but a long time ago, there came a point where these communists could no longer defend Marxism and what Stalin and Mao did. So what have they done? They've gone, instead of the working class versus the rich, they've gone to, oh, well, you're a lesbian, you're oppressed. You're a gay person, you're oppressed. You're a black person, you're oppressed. They've now taken all those Marxist classes, and they've actually made even more categories to pit people against each other. Okay? Let's see here. I'm going to type in, I'm going to search this document real quick. Here we go. This is what I wanted to get to. This is where you really get to check out. Capitalism pits worker against worker in a global race to the bottom. Corporate interest wage a never-ending campaign to roll back people's hard-won democratic rights. Capitalism's insatiable drive for profits has poisoned the Earth's land, sea, and air. Capitalism treats people and nature as disposable commodities in order to transfer the wealth of the planet to a handful of multi-billionaires. This from the Communist Party of America. Now, again, I just want you to understand something here, because it's the natural flow of our human nature. The benefits of our freedom are not intuitive. Recognizing a holy God that gives us rights, unalienable rights, is not intuitive to us, okay? Not according to the way we're born into this world. But I'm telling you right now, if we're not going to limit government and limit what it can do to each of us by force and protect individual rights, all other roads lead to this, lead to what I just read. We have to take a break. Back in a minute.
The Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group. It's a PHP parody.
Hey, man, you got any of that marble rock?
Yeah, I've got the hookup.
Thanks. I need a fix real bad. I'm itching to grow some government.
How much you need?
I'm gonna need a taxpayer's dime bag.
No problem, sir. 1 taxpayer dime of marble rock. Enjoy.
Thanks, man. They don't call it Little Rock for nothing. Am I right?
Did you know your state representative or state senator may be addicted to growing government? The drug is called marble rock, and too much of it will cause marble fever. Watch for the warning signs. Does your legislator suddenly display a lack of humility when faced with basic questions? Does he or she suddenly develop hubris and pride that was not present during the campaign for office? These are signs they might be smoking the terrible drug, marble rock. The solution? Detox. Vote for detox. Vote to send them home for their own good. Warning! Some politicians once voted out of office will not go home and stay in Little Rock to get their fix by lobbying, also known as the Burris Syndrome.
PHP parody.
All right, hey, that's all the time we have today. I don't even know why I went to break there, Joe. I know you're waving me on, and I just talked too long, and I apologize. All of those party platforms are there at conduitforaction.org. Check it out. Also take the quiz. Also check out the raging liberal Randy Bauer, who the state of Arkansas has hired to advise us on tax policy. We'll see you tomorrow for it's Thursday tomorrow.
CBS